According to the local guides, no unaccompanied tourist ever ventures beyond the paddocks. They always turn back to Buckley. But the trail itself continues. Could it be that Kris and Lisanne did the unthinkable, following the trail beyond the paddocks? In their documentary, Answers for Kris, the parents of Kris Kremers are convinced their daughter would have turned back.
Ja, we gaan weer terug. Het is ons wel duidelijk eigenlijk.
Nou ja, wij geloven niet dat ze van het pad af is gegaan. Dat geloven we echt niet.
Nee, precies. Zo stom is ze niet.
Zo stom is ze niet. En je moet hier echt moeite doen om te gaan verdwalen. En dat gaan ze echt niet doen.
Nee.
Als ze wat gebroken zouden hebben, zouden ze zeker op het pad blijven.
Ja, en er zijn ook langs het pad geen steile hellingen of ravijnen waar je in kan donderen en daar dan niet meer gezien wordt. Het is goed om het zelf gelopen te hebben nu. Het hele stuk. En we zien met onze eigen ogen dat je gewoon geen kant op kan als je op het pad loopt.
Het enige wat je doet als je denkt het wordt te laat, dan draai je om en dan ga je terug.
Precies.
En dan kan je best halverwege stranden,
Ja.
maar dan nog blijf je op het pad.
Blijf je op het pad, overnacht je daar, hoe dan
Ja.
ook. En dan gaan we verder.
Ja.
But what if you lose track of time and realize you cannot make it back before dark? Would you spend the night in one of these dark trenches, or somewhere on the paddocks? Or would you continue in the hope that there is some farm or shelter just around the next corner? After the paddocks, the trail disappears into dense forest again. The dense tropical forest, filled with the sound of unseen animals, is not a place anyone would wish to spend the night in. It may well be that this difficult dilemma caused them to call the emergency number at 1639, just as the sun disappeared below the western mountains. If they continued at their normal speed after the first stream, they would have passed the paddocks at around 1430, and by the time of their first alarm call, they would be 2 hours into the forest beyond. Their only option would be to spend the night in the forest, or to press on in the hope that there would be a better shelter ahead. Less than an hour after their first alarm call, the girls would have reached the next paddock, right before the first cable bridge. After the darkness of the dense forest, these open fields would have offered a much better place to spend the night. Beyond the paddock is the Kulibra River, a fast-flowing stream which is locally known as the meat grinder. Crossing this river is possible by balancing over a metal wire, a contraption which is known as a monkey bridge. Wild theories that the girls attempted to cross the river via the monkey bridge and subsequently fell in the river and drowned can be easily debunked.
That's the official story for the Panamanian government, that they fell from these bridges.
No way.
You don't believe that?
No way. No way.
Why not?
Because they would never ever go on it.
Why? Because it's so hazardous?
Because they're sensible girls.
Era el primer brazo del río Culebra.
Agárrate de la soga y apóyate en el palo.
Pasaron por aquí, ¿cómo hicieron ellas para cruzar el río?
Nosotros aducimos que sí pasaron por aquí, pero en aquel...
Era para cruzar el río.
Nosotros aducimos que sí pasaron por aquí, pero en aquel tiempo había una tabla de esa piedra allá que no estaba esa corriente tan grande. Uno podía pasar sin inconveniente aquí todavía.
La lluvia fue breve. Seguimos entre potreros donde hay una destruida caseta de la NAM.
If the girls did manage to cross the river by stepping from one stone on the other, they would have come upon a derelict shelter, locally known as the refuge. Despite its derelict state and the large termite heap on one of its walls, the refuge would have seemed a safe shelter for the girls, explaining why they switched off their phones just before sunset and never used them again that night. All they would need to do was turn back and retrace their footsteps to the Mirador the next morning. At this point, there are two options, which mostly depend on whether or not the girls crossed the river just before sunset on the first day. One theory is that the girls never crossed the river, spending the night instead on the southerly paddocks. Early the next morning, while attempting to return to the Mirador, they may have become confused, and instead of taking the Pianista Trail, they may have taken a trail which leads to another paddock area, and from there to the very rough terrain of an area known as the Belt. The other option, which has been offered by some of the locals, is that the girls did cross the river just before sunset on April 1, but that one of them became injured during this crossing. Both of these scenarios would explain the string of alarm calls in early morning of April 2. If the girls became stranded on the northern shore of the Culebra River, they probably followed the trail further at slow speed, staying close to the shore of the river. Following the trail would eventually have taken them to the second cable bridge. However, if one of them was injured during the first crossing, it is unlikely they got this far. In this scenario, the girls would have ended at a small stream outlet, just upstream of the second cable bridge, and the place where later Kris short was found.
Siguieron caminando hasta el segundo brazo del río. Este afluente siempre tiene corriente. La tesis de la gente de esta área es que las muchachas pudieron haber entrado por aquí.
Sí.
¿Y qué pudo haber pasado?
No se atrevieron a pasar por el cable, quizás buscaron el sendero que tenemos de bajar al río a beber agua. Y la historia.
Y es que abajo de este río abajo, fue donde se encontraron, los huesos y demás.
Claro que sí, de aquí para abajo fue los allá.
Para quienes conocen el lugar, este fue el destino final de las holandesas.
Although this scenario explains the discovery of the remains and belongings of the girls, it totally fails to explain why the girls would have crossed the river and why they did not meet any other persons during their long trek.